It's a day later. Let's go ahead and turn this thing. See how it feels. Definitely feeling better. Still like some tightness right there. It hits points where it spins really nice and then boom, right there it's tight. And I was thinking about this last night. Given the amount of carbon that was on top of the pistons and on the upper edge of the cylinders, I have a feeling that there's probably a lot of carbon around the rings. And I was also thinking about these lines that you see in the cylinder, like these wear lines. I bet you the carbon is packed around those rings and is probably preventing the rings from spinning, you know, evenly, moving over time. They're getting stuck, you know, maybe it's moving slower than it should be and just sits there a while and just kind of wears in, you know, a shadow into the cylinders. It's not bad. Like I can't even feel that one either. I think one of these cylinders I can kind of feel it. I don't think it's a big deal, but I think it's probably worth pulling the pan, having a look at the bearings, pulling the pistons out, you know, pull the crank out, pull the piston and rods out, and have a look there. These pistons are very low compression. I mean, it is such a huge depth. I mean, there is probably, let's just measure that real quick. I'm curious how far down those freaking pistons are. Let's see what we're looking at. 200, so 185 thousandths. That's 185 thousandths from the top of the piston to the deck. I think what's next is we're going to go ahead and pull the timing chain off and get these lifters out of here, get the camshaft out of here. You know, we live in this world now where camshafts are losing their loads. So even though this is a super mild camshaft, bone stock, 440, smogger camshaft, you know, this thing is in good condition. You know, I can't bring myself to throw it away. So I'm gonna box it up, you know, and put it away. And who knows, there might come a day where it's like, hey, that cam, you know, for some, like a truck motor or a bone stock build that, you know, we're not trying to make horsepower, we just want a cruiser to daily drive a big block something. This cam might be put back into circulation, you know what I mean? So let's get all the lifters out, camshaft out, and then we can flip this thing over on its top or on its bottom, whatever. We can flip this thing over and go ahead and pull the pan off and have a look inside, see what we got going on. All right, so I thought this was pretty cool. I bought a 400 from my buddy Chris Field, and he gave me the cam out of the engine and lifters, and this was, he gave it to me in like a FedEx box. He put all the lifters in there. It was a shallow box, so it was kind of perfect for it. Anyway, this was the box I found. It's a Calvert box, kind of perfect, I think, good size, hopefully. What Chris did is he put an arrow and he said front. So basically we're gonna put this like this, and as we pull the lifters out, we're gonna put the lifter in the order it came out of the engine. And how we're gonna do that is we're gonna put like an X cut in the cardboard, and then we're gonna shove the lifter in here, okay? So we'll see how that works. And also I'm gonna put on here 440 stock cam. Let's put the date too, kind of help me remember, you know, what this cam is all about. Oh yeah, this is the one that came out. This is the one in the Junkyard Dog, stock cam to Junkyard Dog. Maybe we'll put that Junkyard Dog. Thought I'd put the dial indicator on here, turn this thing over and see if we can get an idea. I got it on a lifter, kind of finagled this whole fixture. Okay, I think that's peak. 181. So it's hitting tight spots still, so I kind of got to tap it over. 69. All right, so I'm panned out so you can see kind of everything. It's kind of a pain in the ass getting this in here like this. I really need a rod extension so I can mount everything on top of the deck and then have it reach down into the lifter. But I think it's gonna work. We turn it over. It's at peak right now. Tight spot. I'm just gonna keep tapping it so that it runs, it turns over in small increments. When we come off the lobe, that should read 0. Not quite at 0. We'll reset this. You got the idea of what I'm doing, so I'm gonna go ahead and zoom you in. And then we're gonna keep tapping it around. Gonna keep rotating. There's definitely tight spots in this motor, so it's gonna warrant us pulling the pistons out to have a look, see what's going on. Could be rust on the bottom of the cylinders we can't see. I have a feeling those rings are just full of carbon and it's just getting tight. But we'll find out. For now, this is just to satisfy my curiosity as to what size cam this is. I don't care about specifics. I just want to get an idea of lift to see how mild or aggressive it is. I imagine it's very mild. Okay, here we go. Coming up on the lobe. That's 100 thousandths, 200 thousandths. This particular gauge has got a tiny dial right here. This is so if it hits 1, that's 100 thousandths, 2 is 200 thousandths. So if it spins over quickly, which is what I was afraid would happen doing it by hand, it gets tight and then boom, it spins too far, and I couldn't tell, but I could go off of that too. So we're at 200 thousandths. Okay, 65, 67, 8, 9, 71. About 71. So 271 thousandths. Okay, I had to go get my other phone so I can do the calculation here. So you take 271 thousandths and you multiply that by the rocker ratio, which on a Mopar is 1.5 equals 406. So this cam has a 406 lift on it, which is pretty damn mild. Your camshaft that came in a Roadrunner or like a Charger RT would have been around 455 lift. Even the 340 motors are around 355 lift. I'm sorry, 455 lift. So being that this is a 407 lift, gives you an idea of how mild this thing is. So it's just a very stock, plain Jane, no horsepower cam. But it's broke in and it is good, and there's no flat cam lobes. And we have old school lifters, which, I kind of trust a lot more than the newer stuff. Jury could be out still, whether it's quality of the parts or if it's oil, but at least in this case, we know the quality is better here than it is maybe on some of the newer stuff. All right, anyway, we're gonna go ahead and rip this thing out of here. All right, so we wanna pull these guys out. They move very freely in the cam bore, but the bottom of the lifter's got a bunch of like old burnt oil, carbon buildup, whatever. So when you try to push the lifter up through the bore, that area of the lifter is, like, because of that layer, it doesn't want to go through, so it's tight. So I'm gonna try, see if we can pull it out, which we can. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show you. You can even, yeah, you can kind of feel it. It just feels rough right in here. Let's just have a look at what a old factory original lifter might look like. Supposedly supposed to have a dome across here. This lifter does not look like it has a dome. Nope. In fact, let's go here. We have a bright background. See if we can see light through there. Yeah, so it's kind of concave. Huh. That's interesting. Is that good or bad? Normal for an old school? I mean, I don't think it took a crap, because once the lifter starts to go bad, they just go. Maybe it's just worn, you know, it's just old and worn. But you know, so that's probably slightly convex instead of concave instead of convex. So it's interesting. Also, there's no chamfered edge here. I've seen some videos guys have put out, and they have like this chamfered edge, and some guys are saying it should have a chamfered edge. This lifter definitely does not. As we pulled this out of the very first lifter bore, so I want to shove it in the box like so. Front of the engine, arrows pointing to the front of the engine. This is on the driver's side, so we know this lifter, if we go to put this cam and lifter set into another engine, we know this one goes there. All right, that's the idea. And then we're going to go to the very next one. I think this one was a little more willing to come out. Same, see light through there, so concave. It's probably just worn, you know what I mean? It's a high mileage engine. I think that's all that says. It didn't fail though. It's still working, it's still doing its job. Maybe it doesn't need that convex being such a small camshaft. I don't know. Not necessarily an expert. Well, I am not an expert. Let me put it that way. Be a little more clear about that. I am not an expert. All right, next, let's go after the passenger side, I guess. I'm putting the rag on here because I don't want metal to bite into this lifter, because I don't want to damage it. I'm not sure I would reuse these though, given that they're so flat. Same thing. I think they're just worn out, guys. Didn't go bad. Still working, still doing its job. I'm not going to show you all of these. I mean, unless we see something that jumps out at us. Slightly concave. All right, this one's the second to the last one on the driver's side. This one is a bit worn. See that? See a little bit of light in there. Anyway, you can kind of see right there. It's got some wear. I mean, so much for saving these. I don't know, we'll have a look at the cam when it comes out. The cam might still be worth saving. You know, they didn't have some catastrophic failure, they just got worn. I think this engine is a high mileage motor, you know. This lugs a bit worn too. All right, so there you have it. All the lifters are out. They're pretty worn out. I wouldn't use them. They're just the mileage on these things are just way up there. They're just freaking worn out, you know. They're not gonna last forever. But if you're kind of curious how an original factory high mileage 440 lifter looks in its old age, here you go. And it's, like I said, it's just worn. It's not, didn't fail, you know. I don't know, in today's oil, if we weren't using special oil, yeah, I don't think this would survive very long. But anyway, kind of cool. I'm gonna keep all this stuff just for, you know, who knows. It's a record of what came out of the junkyard dog, and who knows, someday we may want to go back to these and reference them and look at them. So I have them, but not gonna use them. All right, time to pull the timing set off. Give this a smack, break it loose. I don't know if I said earlier, but if you need to know what size socket to get this off, it's 1 1/4. And the camshaft takes a 5/8. Same thing, give it a whack, try to break it loose. Don't want to lose that. All right, we'll just let that sit. We got the intermediate shaft out of the way enough. I think we can get the cam out. So they make these installation handles that screw into the end of the camshaft so you can install it. Don't quote me on this, but I think this is 7/16/14 thread. Just take your cam bolt with you, go down to the hardware store. They have little screws you can screw it in there to verify the size. I think it's, like I said, I think it's 7/16/14. Anyway, get yourself as long a bolt as possible. Screw it in. I had these laying around, so I'm just like tying on the lobes. Looks like that's as far as it's gonna go for me though. Same thing, you know, it's just got all that old oil buildup on it and probably carbon and stuff. Tap out this way. Okay, looking at this thing, I mean, she's got all her bumps, you know, kind of wonder, probably just wear, you know, high mileage wear. You see how it's all shiny on one side? These lobes are tapered, which basically keeps the lifter turning and stuff. So with all the carbon and old oil, you know, stains, I'll call them, it kind of gives away where the lobe, or it gives away where the lifter has been, you know, contacting. So pretty sure this is all good, indicating that, you know, it's riding on one side and it's been rotating the whole time. I mean, I would guess that, because even in here, you're gonna have one side taller than the other. The fact that we have some sheen all the way across here, this lobe is probably flat instead of tapered like it should be. You know, given the marks here, you can tell this is the side, that's the high side, this is the low side. So yeah, it's probably flattened out just with mileage. That's probably why all the lifters are pretty flat as well. Yeah, I'm not sure I would use this for anything. I mean, it's probably just wore out, you know. I think it's just got a crap load of miles on this engine. And we've already gone over some of the clues that, you know, this thing has some stories to tell. I don't think any of this is bad. This is just sort of a testament to an engine that, you know, lived its full life. I think it racked up some serious mileage over the years. Until I got it, where the car was sort of wore out and done, and brakes were shot on it when I got it, but it still ran, and I paid $500 for it. You know, the guy was gonna sell it to a junkyard if nobody bought it. And then, you know, I scrapped the car out, so I had no interest in the car. All I wanted was the 440 that was in it. We'll hold on to it for now. I don't think the cam was causing any kind of drag, but I wanted to give it a turnover with the cam out of it. Yeah, see, it's still tight. We try to clean up in here, and then we're gonna flip it over and pull the panel. Just a lot of sludge turned to grease. Wow. Probably had some Pennzoil going through it. So Pennzoil back in the day, it had kind of like a wax to it. When you'd run it through the engine, it would build up inside the engine in the oiling system. I mean, everywhere where there was oil, basically, you'd get this like sludgy buildup. It's just like a wax. Nasty. All the old school guys will know what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's all it is. Look at that. That is so nasty. Nothing jumping out at me other than the sludginess. Everything looks okay. No parts in the bottom of the pan. That's good. And like I said, when I bought this thing, it was in the car running. Okay, there's a piece of something here. It's a vacuum line. A piece of the nylon timing set. See that big old clump? It's like, I think this was in the pan, and when I turned the engine over, it just fell. It's just a big old clump of crap and crud and stuff. So I'm gonna turn it back over and see if I can get it to fall out. Ugh. A lot of water in that. Ugh. Yeah, it's just like a glob of wax.